Okay, you're good to go.
All right. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and it will be broadcasted over the Lunenburg Public Access channel, and it will be uploaded to the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel after the meeting. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. And with that, I would like to open the meeting and let me do a roll call. Karen Menard,
Here.
Chris Sullivan,
Here.
Pat?
My mute button.
Here.
and also with us, we have Angela, Clement, and Christopher. Hi, and Christopher Ruth. They're from our Parks and Recreation Department. All right. Do we had an appointment for 7 p.m. with Michelle. Chris Sullivan, do you know if she's going to join us or she's about to join
I
us?
messaged her earlier with the Zoom link and stuff. I didn't hear back from her. I just messaged her again to
Okay.
see if may have been
Maybe
a little bit of confusion. Because I had said, oh, maybe we'll add you to August instead. Then I did respond to say we submitted a revised agenda to have you on tonight.
okay. Well, if she doesn't come, we'll just
I'll
postpone.
keep,
So
I'll keep my eye on my phone here. She was
Yeah.
enthused when I informed her that everyone was supportive. She was enthused about that.
Oh, nice.
So
All right, so we'll move on to Facilities and Recreation Director update. And if Michelle comes, we'll just maybe pause it and add her. Chris or Angela, who would like to start first?
I'll start.
Okay.
So I don't have a huge update this time, but we got the permit for the sand on the beach, and I'm working on, excuse me, getting that scheduled.
that's you.
I'd like to thank certain Parks Commission members that somehow pushed that through conservation. That was great. The only other update I have is in talking with our beach director. It seems like we have a couple of vacations coming up, and she had another lifeguard that was looking to fill just hours that, you know, people are on vacation. They've already submitted an application to the town. The only issue I've seen is their lifeguard certification has been renewed, but they don't have the new card yet. So we'd have to sort that out on our end as far as that, but we just wanted to get the Parks Commission's blessing on adding another fill-in person.
Okay, Chris, if the is there a timeline for that card?
I don't know off the top of my head. I've been texting back and forth with the beach director. So according to the Red Cross, their lifeguard certification is still active. There's a 30-day grace period that they have. So we just have to make sure that that's okay with HR and all that.
Okay. I mean, since we don't want that, I think the timeline you told me was July 19. We wouldn't want to be short staffed on that time. Do you think it's worth putting the word out and see if we can get anyone else to maybe, I don't know, Karen might know some people, maybe even Chris Sullivan, that has a lifeguard certification? I don't know. Like, is it worth doing that, or how confident are you?
I'm fairly confident. I would just love to be able to get something from the Red Cross. You know, I know the state has a thing where you can do a license lookup, and that would be good enough if they had some kind of database like that that says if someone's active or not. So I need to look into it. This all came up after I left the office today. So we were just hoping to get your blessing to keep things moving along so we wouldn't need a, you know, another Parks meeting for it.
So
Right.
are you looking for for us to make a motion supporting a part-time as needed position, or do you want us to actually do it by name?
That's a fantastic question. Whatever you think would be the best way.
All right, so I'm gonna, and since I know who it is, I'm gonna put his name in there. I'm gonna make a motion that the Park Commission recommends adding an additional part-time as needed employee, lifeguard. How did I word that? Lifeguard, Cole Kiefer. And if his licensing doesn't come back, for you to move on to hire somebody else without having to bring it back to the commission.
That
Because it
sounds
is-
fantastic.
I'll
That makes
second
sense.
that.
Okay.
All right. Roll call, Karen,
Aye.
Chris Sullivan.
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay. All right, Chris.
Chris, Ruth and Angela, I'm gonna, I'll shoot over an email and include town manager on it, so she knows that we just motioned and approved this. But I'm also gonna send you a backup name of somebody that just got licensed. And it's actually a sibling of another employee of the town beach. So, you know, at least you'd have a backup if you need it. If Cole's information doesn't come through in a timely manner.
That's
Or you-
fantastic. Thank you.
All right, that's good. All right. Does anybody have any questions for Chris? Nope. Okay. Angela, do you want to lead us with your update? You must have a lot.
I do, but I don't, because I feel like we just talked. So all the swim lessons are now full. So that's the huge thing I would say, is that we can definitely start waitlisting people for swim lessons, but I did close off every session right now. Other than that, I did put out a survey just to see what everybody kind of wanted in terms of activities, so whether it's sports related or not. So we did that for youth, and we also did that for adult activities. Most of the same stuff kind of came back. It was a lot of people who wanted more soccer, basketball, that was for adult and youth. Some people were interested in also yoga, some pickleball, and then arts related wise, they wanted some more STEM programs and some like pottery or learn to paint stuff. So I'm going to look into starting to do some of that stuff. I also looked into getting some more nets and stuff like that, so we have more access to that.
That's great.
Can I ask a question on that before we move off of too far away from this update, Anna?
Yeah,
Angela, so I know on the Saturday morning lessons that there was a group of older advanced swimmers that there wasn't enough to fill a class, so they were refunded or whatever. Some of them moved to different days.
Yeah.
Is there a way for next year for us to, like, I don't know if it means having the beach coordinator look at the list, because you don't sign up by level, correct? You just
Right.
register. Is there a way that she can look? Because I have a feeling, because if I remember correctly, the Saturday beach lessons were the first ones to fill up.
Yeah, they were.
So
We couldn't
closed
take as
that.
many because it's only an hour, and they only
Right.
take one class.
Right.
per.
So I guess I'm just thinking that maybe next year when we put it out there, that if we could, you know, maybe only take, I don't know, somehow work it so that the beach coordinator can look over the list and say, okay, we only have 3 advanced lessons. We shouldn't close. We only have 3 signed up for advanced lessons. We shouldn't close to advanced.
Mhm.
So that we could somehow fill that advance, so we're not turning the kids away. I don't know if all of them had rescheduled to a weekday. I know that the one kid that I do know that rescheduled, it's not a convenient time for them, and she's gonna
Right.
miss half the lessons, so. Yeah,
And
just
I
something.
think it's possible that also maybe we can open up somebody to specifically sign up for that. I just don't know that that's going to be 100% appropriate, where some parents are going to think,
Yeah, the kids are.
yeah. So I think that's definitely an option to look at too. But I think her looking at it a little bit sooner would be helpful, so that it gets determined way ahead of time. And I also think if we could maybe expand to even do multiple classes in that time period, I think that'd be better. But I think what happens is that they don't have as many lifeguards that want to work every Saturday. And I think that's why we have a little low staff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
yeah. So, generally, like before we cancel anything, I think is worth doing a reach out to the community, because there might be some people, who is like on the fence and might say yes. And also, maybe letting the parents know, hey, we're low, the people that have signed up and say, hey, we're low on people on your level. We may have to cancel if we don't have enough other people sign up, because it is likely that, like, Chris Sullivan knows a bunch of parents of kids of his kids' age. So if we just finding different ways to reach out and make these things happen.
Yeah, I think it definitely was. I think they only had about 3 that were the advanced level. So I think that makes a lot of sense. But I think even if we had that, we would have had to extend to add other classes. So again, I think that the lifeguarding issue is part of the problem. So I'm thinking we should try to get more people on for next year, definitely.
Yeah, and also one thing we can do with our lifeguards is strategize the schedule. I think right now, I don't know the break. I think when we were hiring, we did look at the breakdown of the hours, but if we could theoretically make a job post for, Saturday and Sunday work only.
Right.
Am
I think that's good.
Yeah, I might open up to someone, like, for example, my daughter, it's not swimming, but she teaches skiing at Wachusett Mountain on the weekend during the winter, right? And they actually require, if you're working for them, they actually require people to do an evening during the week. But if you're a college student or not, they do have hiring for weekend only because they want to get those people.
Right.
So I think there is different hiring that we could do. And I think we can get creative on that, since this is a problem that we came across this year. We should document it and have it, conversation next year.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think even having somebody that primarily wants to teach the lessons might be great also. Because I think those people are going to be more passionate towards it too. If that's what they really do, if that's their strong suit, I think it'd be great to have people that want to be there every Saturday to teach the lessons.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great thought. How's the sign up for the other programs?
So we're running into a little bit of an issue with the one that's supposed to start next week. So I opened registration until tomorrow morning, but I already sent a few emails just saying, I don't know if we're gonna have enough to run it. So at this point, we have basically until tomorrow at noon to get 5 signups. So
Which one is that?
that's the multi-sports one for the 5 to 7.
Okay.
So we did have a good amount of numbers, and then what happened is 2 parents, actually 1 parent, 2 kids, were signed up for swim lessons for session 1 and it's at the same time. And I was like, oh, can you bump to session 2 instead? And they can't do that due to other conflicts. So it's right there.
So you said 1 parent, 2 kids. Are we short 2 people?
No, but then I sent the email, and then other people were like, well, I need to figure out next week if it's going to be canceled or not. I need to get childcare in order. So then I had 1 more cancel.
Okay. At that point, because what I was thinking is, so I mean, it's good that we have 2. So there's 2 concerns when running these programs: is, can we have fun with the kids that we have, and another one is, can the money be, do we have enough money, like, because they want to get paid?
Right.
But my question is, can they run the program with 7 people, 7 kids enrolled?
So they
Not
set
for
minimum at 12.
Right, but that might be a financial requirement more than
Okay.
will the kids have fun.
Okay.
And if you think about, like, and I think in this case we have, let's just say we have 7 families counting on this. It might be worth for us to invest that extra money on it.
Okay.
It's a decision that we can make, but we do run into the issue of, the more we cancel, the less parents can count on us, and the less people sign up next year.
Right.
So we kind of need to create a good create a, good faith with parents. So then when we put the programming out, people know, I know for sure this is going to happen.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a financial decision. The budget is Chris's and yours, but we do have the 5,000 that Heather set aside. And we also have the profit that you have had from everything else that's running, right?
Right. I find it a little bizarre of the low numbers for this one because the older group has been filled for like weeks.
I'm not though, and you know why? Because TC Passios has their summer camp and it runs Monday through Thursday from 9 to 3. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of kids in that younger age group that are like sitting at 6 and 7 that have
Okay.
registered for that.
Okay. I guess
So-
that makes sense then. I do see them coming in and out, but all right.
And
So
Karen, do
tomorrow-
you know the price of the TCP for a week?
$175, and it's from I believe it's 9 to 3 Monday through Thursday.
Okay, so the price is comparable.
And our camp's a little bit shorter, but we have more ours camp is more of like an organized as a camp, where the kids that were with me yesterday telling me about camp, they had some organized activities, but it was a lot of like open free play type stuff, so not as much camp related. Angela, tomorrow at noontime.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna share your post a couple of places because it just dawned on me, we have a whole bunch of Lunenburg pages that were like the class of 2033, which would have been one of my previous foster kids. They had a Facebook page for that. So I think there's one for like the subsequent classes. I'll see if I can
okay.
get into those and post them, because then it would hit directly to that age group of people.
Yeah, and I can send an email to the owner of it and just see if they'd be willing to, come.
They're
If it's
they're the only age group next week.
right.
So is the cut they're giving us a 20% cut? Is that what it is, Angela?
I'd have to look it up. Hold on.
And the minimum's 12?
Yeah, the minimum is 12 and then the maximum is 20. Give me
I think
one
I think this is the one that you went back to them and said, no, this is too much. We gotta.
It is. It is. I know they like discount. I think it was like $10 per kid. So I think it ended up being $180 a child, and I think maybe $160 is what they were collecting.
All right, and we're selling for 180.
I believe so. Hold on.
And before anybody says that we're trying to make money off of this, because I can just imagine people listening to this at home, this covers the administrative piece of it. And it covers the cost of processing their credit cards and stuff like that. So this isn't money that just comes back to us and sits in our pocket and we have a free for all with it. Just so
Right.
clear.
Okay. So what was that? It was supposed to be 200 and then it's 190.
190, and it's
160.
160 we pay them.
Right.
It's 12. Oh, that's good. 20 times. So just so you have an idea, I think financially we are talking about less than $600 for us, plus the credit card fees, which are about 5%. Well, 5 to 10%. But I don't know the details of what are paying. So I think it's worth for us to go in and to show these parents that they can count on us. Because it's only $600, and you're gonna serve the kids well. So, and then I would call them and say, hey, I need you to make this happen. It's 7 kids. We'll leave the registration open for the week. next week might be raining. We might get some last minute signups. But all I need from you is to tell me that you will run with 7 kids, and we will pay you for 12 kids as if 12 kids are there. And they'll
Okay.
say yes. I mean, if anything, it's going to be easier, right? And you can
Yeah.
have fun with 7 kids.
I think it's just going to limit some of the games they can do, but I don't think it's going to be anything that would affect the program. I think there's still
Right.
plenty of stuff they can do with 7.
So what do you think? Do you think it's worth trying to make it happen?
I think I should definitely reach out to him and just let him know just make sure that's what we want to do and make sure that's fine with him. But if so, then yes.
Okay, and then maybe we'll get some last minute signups.
Yes, I hope so.
Okay.
It-
All right.
Just to ask the question, is that a slippery slope in any capacity, looking at future programming for us? Like
In
if
what way?
if we say, all right, for this program, we're gonna invest money to keep the program open, if the same thing happens to another program and another program and another, like, are we setting an expectation, I guess, is the only, I agree with what you're talking about, just to put that out there, but I'm just, I guess, devil's advocate a little bit. Are we,
Right.
you know,
Not
setting an
necessarily.
expectation for people that,
Right.
you know, if
I-
there's only 7 on a future program and, you know, well, you did it last year and you're not doing it this year.
Right. I don't think that's the case. You all remember Brent, right, from Boys and Girls Club here. He's now working at the Lunenburg, the Littleton Rec department, and I owe to introduce Angela to him because he said he would walk. It's really to the discretion of the department to run it or not. And many programs do run on the negative financially, and that's what they use some of the funds for. So it's I guess what I'm saying is this approach is pretty standard to the business. So I don't think that would be the case, but anyway. All right. And did we have cancellation for the Nashua River Watershed Association?
We did.
What
I-
happened?
That one was also a conflict of the parent, and that again was 2 kids in that.
Oh,
We
okay.
have one just add to it though.
Oh, okay.
So I know, and we have a little more time for that one. So I think we're going to keep getting more interest in that,
Right.
especially because it's a really unique program. It's not going to be indoors. The kids will be outside. I think they'll be great. So I think that one will be all right.
No, I
Yeah.
was just curious. Yeah.
I don't want to lose my momentum on making this post. That camp, this multi-sports camp, that's going to be held indoors. So it's,
Yeah.
I guess the question is, it's rain or shine?
Right. Correct.
Okay. And
Boat
that's
race
good.
is coming up.
Yep.
You know, right, we have the cardboard boat race coming up in August.
Yes. Yep. We're doing that. We have 2 families signed up so far for that.
August
Nice.
12th.
And Angela, so you, you had to ask me, sorry, of course, something, I'm choking my own air here. So last year, the rec director that we had in place was supposed to be doing what you're doing, which is to advertise and try to make things happen.
Mhm.
And he didn't really take a lot of action. So I think that's why we didn't have a lot of momentum. So
Okay.
it's not that the commission was going to run it. It was because I know the beach staff, they're very passionate about it and it's kind of a fun thing,
Yeah.
but it was not a commission thing. It was more of the rec director didn't really emphasize or advertise that a lot.
It seemed like a little bit of a miscommunication. I don't know where it happened, but Liz mentioned something along the lines of like they give prizes out at the end or something, and like someone told her that the commission would take care of whatever it was. I don't know exactly what happened.
Yeah, no, it was like we
well,
have a budget. We had money left over last year, of all things.
Right. So she just told me that, and so I just wanted to obviously check with you guys if you're willing to, help me with it in any sort of way. I don't know exactly
So,
yet.
so tell us what you need for help, but usually like, our help is what you're saying here, and then what we help you, like if you ask me for something, I charge. But if there's things specifically that you need help with, you can give us a task and a list, and we can share around. And so if there's specific things that you need help, that you'd like us to help, let us know.
Okay.
The other thing I actually have, it's an item of the agenda, beach house work. Angela had a great idea, which I really liked it, which was maybe we can continue trying to figure this out. And I think after we submit this grant, we are going to have a little more time in our hands. But maybe we'll do that event, that dedication, if everything is in place, at the same week that we do the cardboard boat race, which I thought it was nice, like 2 social events at the same time.
Yeah, I thought maybe we could make it, something bigger. I know last year there was like a turnout of more people showed up to watch it, and a lot of people participated. But I
Right.
think we can make it an event with both things, like the opening of the beach house, everything like that. Refinish the way we wanted, and then do the cardboard boat race that day. And like I said, I think if we could get vendors involved, even like handing out ice cream or something like that, that would even be great. So just some things I've been thinking about. But I
I
haven't.
love the ice cream idea. And we can open the gates there that they use for entrance, and kids can have access to that.
Yeah, and I think if we can make it, a big event this year, it's going to be even bigger next year, and we'll have more people participate in it. So
Okay. Do you wanna come up with a plan of how you're envisioning this, and maybe we can discuss offline and then share with me, Karen, or Pat, or Chris? All of
Yeah.
us are great at those things. And then we can just start marching towards what you have envisioned.
yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. All right. All right. That was all I had for that, and that takes care of line item agenda number 4.
On your, one thing to note, just with the survey that you did and the response from adults for soccer and basketball, be mindful, typically the school runs adult basketball. It usually starts up in October
Mhm.
And runs through May. There is typically adult soccer outside, and I think the survey referenced indoor soccer, but there is soccer that typically starts outside after Labor Day as well, that the school puts together as part of the community kind of outreach programs that they have.
Okay.
So,
Angela, maybe I think the person who heads that is Patty Gillette. As you plan your programming, maybe want to drop her an email and say, hey, I'm trying to come up with a plan for programming for fall and winter. Can you tell me what you have lined up so I don't duplicate?
Sure.
I think that might be a good way, because like Chris said, this is all through the school, right, Chris?
correct. So I organized the soccer last fall through the school. We did it through parks the year before, the spring before.
We might have,
But I don't want to step on the toes of that that kind of program or whatever.
yeah, well, more than anything, do we have enough for 2 programs to run? Because there are towns that have multiple programs running.
Oh, yeah, if you had a different, I mean, it's a Sunday program for the adult soccer, typically the one that's the school does. So if you have another time, I mean, I think there's people that would play. I mean, there's
Yeah.
enough soccer around. I think that people play. The issue will be getting fields, probably, like for a fall outdoor program for like soccer would be a challenge.
Yeah, I was definitely
I
thinking more
would suspect.
indoor
Yeah.
type of stuff, especially because the winter and we do have that space available. People can even do futsal in there because I know it's a smaller space.
Yeah.
But just I know that's what people kind of geared towards what they wanted, and I don't know if it's more like because there's not much field space outdoors that they're looking for more of it, because I know people are kind of battling for that outdoor space sometimes.
I know a couple of soccer adults that were interested in futsal.
Oh,
In
great.
the past, they brought that up, so.
Yeah.
And there was another individual in the past that had previously reached out regarding Frisbee golf.
Oh, okay.
Disc golf, excuse me, disc golf, but not obviously not being able to play disc golf indoors, but
Right.
organizing almost like a skills sort of
Yeah.
scenario, like practicing some aspects of it indoors. And I
Okay.
can, drop me a note if that's something you're interested in. I can connect you with those people and see if they're still interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that would be great.
Angela, did you see the text I just sent you? Probably not. Can you just confirm that the camp is open to out of town residents?
Yes, it is.
Posted to Shirley, posted to three different Lunenburg pages.
Thank you.
I'll
What other-
copy your, I'll copy your thing and I'll share in Fitchburg and Leominster. I'm part of a
Okay.
couple groups.
Angela, what other camps do we have right now that need out of town advertisement?
We do still have the best soccer camp.
That has openings?
Yep, it does.
Okay. All right, I will, let me give them time to digest what I just posted.
Yeah.
And I did put that sign up would have to be quick by tomorrow at noontime.
Okay, great.
So if you could just check in, obviously check to see if there were any registrations, obviously no guarantee, but it's worth a shot. And then once tomorrow at noontime passes, I'll blast the best soccer.
Awesome. Thank you.
But I really hope that you can make it happen. So like convince them to run with 7 kids. I think it will go a long way with our parents.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the perfect number would have been 10, but I think that even if we get one more, that would be great. And I'll just try regardless of the number, just to say.
It like Chris Ruth says, if you need me to intimidate anyone, just let me know. I can probably track the guy's house and go have a talk with him. Just let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
Meeting's being recorded.
Yeah, I mean, so okay, so Angela, everything sounds good. I don't have anything else in terms of question. I did run a revenue total. Let me see, and I'll just give to maybe, but if possible, maybe next meeting that we have, where most of the sales for the season will have happened.
Yep.
Maybe you can give us an update on the finances,
Sure.
which, like, for example, right now, it looks like we have sold about $27,000. We have had $27,000 in revenue, and that is for memberships and programs, including day passes. It looks like we have sold, that's interesting. But the financial breakdown should include, for the programs, how much we paid, how much we had for revenue, the memberships and so forth. So,
Okay.
and I think the next meeting, which will probably be mid to late August, it'll probably be a good time because most of the sales will have happened.
Okay. Yeah. And I think, you can still buy the beach memberships at that point, but I think other than that, it is most of it.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. Does anybody else has any questions or comments for Angela?
No, you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's good. I see that Greg Roy has joined us. He is here to talk, if it's okay with the group, he's here to talk about the skate park plans, which was an appointment for 8 o'clock. Is it okay that we bump that item to the agenda? Okay. And Chris, is it okay that bump that item while you're here so that you can also see it, Chris Ruth?
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't have much in the way of comments, but I do have that one question about the access to the park, so.
Okay, all right. So with that, Angela, are you all set? Do you have any other comments? Anything else you want to add to us?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you guys so much.
All right,
Thanks, Angela.
okay,
Have a good night.
good night. Hey, Greg. Hi, so
Thanks
next
for
item,
taking me early. You certainly don't have to, though. I just got
no,
done.
it's okay. It looks like you're in their office, so it'd be good to get you home for your family.
Yeah.
uh,
I'll try to be
Any update on the
quick.
soccer game, Greg? How are they doing over there?
Well, I had to go to the zoning board of appeals, Chris, so I had to leave at halftime. So they were tied at half. So-
So now the item on the agenda is appointments, 8 PM, Lunenburg Escape Park. Review design, discussion and possible vote. I'll let Greg lead, and if you want to share your screen, Karen can give you that power.
Okay, thank you. Let me just tell Anthony Caiosa that we're on.
Yeah, are we doing it? If we move you up, Greg, is that a disservice to anyone else, anyone you're expecting?
Well, Anthony was going to join, but that's okay. Let's not wait for him.
I'm gonna put you guys on mute and I will call just to make sure he sees it.
Yeah, I texted him too, but
I'll call.
sounds good. Okay, I'm going to share screen. Bear with me. How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay. I had a Zoom call earlier today and I had absolutely terrible service. So far so good on this one. But if I drop out for some reason, I apologize in advance. So we are, I think, in the closing drills of the Conservation Commission notice of intent process. We still have a public hearing open. And we filed that several months ago, and we sort of we continued it so that we could coordinate our efforts with the with WOLA in their schematic design process, which we did. So the park, the layout that you have here in front of you is the layout that I think is reflected in the schematic design that was provided by your consultant. So I think we're coordinated on that front. One of the big things that we were, well, two things I'll say. We ended up sliding, of course, the skate park further towards the wetland area, so away from your proposed pavilion area. And then as part of the coordination effort, we also made sure that we included the location of the walking path system around that'll be going around the skate park to make sure that that things that we were building, which include the skate park and also the drainage system for the skate park, would not interfere with that future walkway. So the plan that you have in front of us does all of those things. This lighter dash line here that you can kind of see coming between, so this mandolin shaped thing here is the drainage basin. And then the hatched, the grayscale area is the skate park. And then there's I wish I had this plan colored, I apologize, but this dashed line through here is where that future walking trail system will go that's on your schematic design from WOLA. And so we've worked out the grading relative to both of those things, and we think we have a plan that's workable here. I think that the Conservation Commission was all but ready to approve and close this last week. I did not want to do that because I wanted to make sure that your board had an opportunity to see it before it was hot off the press when I took it to the Conservation Commission last week, and I didn't want to put the cart before the horse. So I appreciate the opportunity to come before you this evening and just present it hopefully one last time and make sure that you're okay with things. The drainage system was one of the more challenging parts of this. This area, really the whole park, I think that you probably caught that drift from Nick with Meridian and their team who was working out the drainage for the entire park. The soils under this part of town are really crappy for drainage, generally speaking. And so it's a real challenge. We have an advantage here of the wetland system that we're adjacent to is actually not a state jurisdictional wetland. It's only jurisdictional under the local bylaw. So there's a little bit more leeway, if you will, relative to permitting, and particularly stormwater as it relates surrounding that area. So what we anticipate doing is actually building more or less building a portion of what WOLA is showing on their feasibility plan. So you'd sort of get a little of that for free from the skate park people as part of the skate park project. And then once your plan is being built, and the T-ball field in particular is taken away, then that area would be expanded for the additional impervious area that would be constructed with the sport courts and walking trail construction and things like that. So I think that's what I wanted to say. I'm happy to take any questions or have any kind of discussion that you'd see fit.
Okay, I'll open to the commission and Chris Ruth, if anybody has any questions.
I don't
Anyone?
have any.
Okay. Chris Sullivan?
I'm good. It's beyond my scope, but unlike Karen, I'm not an engineer, so.
Okay.
All right.
We're waiting on the
But,
application,
I
Karen.
think
Okay.
I defer to the experts, but it looks good.
All
By
right.
the way, I'm not an engineer anymore. I'm a grant writer, just so to be clear.
Good. Those are super important too. Good job.
Pat, do you have any questions, comments?
Nope, looks good from here.
All right, Chris Ruth, what you got?
Couple of quick ones for you. First one being, what should we plan on for our conceptual design as where's the best entrance for the sidewalk to connect to the skate park area? Is it, upper end, lower end? Is there a flat spot?
Yeah, I think the upper end is probably the best.
Okay,
Because that's the real flat area. I think where we'd stage. I think actually right in here, probably this corner. But I think, we're kind of grading this off with a shoulder, Chris, so you can more or less access it around, you can walk around and we expect I'm not a skater, but I expect skaters to sort of walk around and utilize whatever feature of the park that they want to use that day or that.
Yep.
that
yeah,
run.
my concern was really just, right now Wola's showing grass in the area. And I
Yeah.
think there's some room for the commission to make some decisions on that. I just was thinking, if it's grass in the area and people are walking from all sides, that grass gets destroyed. So having a walkway to get the bulk of the
Yeah.
traffic in would be helpful.
I think this corner here is probably good, and also there'll be an opportunity down this low side to enter over here too. I think would be
Okay.
two really good spots. Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Sorry, Chris, I almost jumped on you. It was your
Oh,
turn.
I have a couple more unless you had a comment related to that one. that we
No,
wanted-
no, well, I'll let you make your comments and then I'll just have mine. Sorry,
Okay.
I was rude.
No, it's okay. The next one, Greg, and you're probably have a better idea of this than I do because I haven't gone through that many conservations. The basin you're showing and the basin Wola's showing are slightly different shapes. I just didn't know if you thought that would be any issue of either of us going through conservation where they're saying, hey, this doesn't match.
So I think that there's going to be 2 conservation approvals on this. I talked with on this a little bit on Sunday. I think that we will ultimately get a Conservation Commission approval for the plan that you see here, which is more or less a subset of what you would be, of what the entire project will need. So I think that there would be a subsequent notice of intent that would be required to be filed and an order of condition issued from the Conservation Commission for the entire work. And you'd have the benefit of already having this notice of intent in the record, so to speak. And hopefully, this work, a portion of this work, at least, if not all of it, done, as sort of a base existing condition when that was filed. So the way our intention on this was to set the Parks Commission up so that the work we're doing here would not only would it not be in conflict, but it would also, it would really be harmonious, and it would sort of give you a leg up, if you will, for your construction effort, which also extends into the permitting effort. So I
Okay.
think that, I think that it sort of sets you up for that, at least in this area of the park, for that notice of intent that would be required to be approved by the Conservation Commission for the entire park project, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm glad you were thinking of it, and, you know, obviously you go through these commissions a lot more often than I do. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to have anything that might hold up the rest of the project.
Yeah, I think the efforts that we're going through with the commission should help you.
Sounds good. And I'm sure if there's any permitting issues later on, you guys would be happy to volunteer some time to help us on this part of it, right?
No, absolutely, and that's true, Chris. I mean, you may be saying that tongue in cheek, but I'm also a resident of town, so
Yeah, I know you are, and I appreciate that you're willing to help and you're
yeah.
looking.
Well, I'm a resident of town and I'm in a butter, so I
Yeah.
I have an interest all around. So yeah. I'm
Speaking of being in a butter, my last question was, and this is probably more for offline later on, we get closer to construction, is do you guys anticipate any blasting in the area to get this in?
no blasting. We do anticipate hammering. So
Okay.
we do not intend to blast. We do not have huge, deep excavations, a few feet. And I think that the excavation, you know, like I said, I live across the street. I've excavated on my property, and I've done so in the same ledge with a electrically driven jackhammer. So a rock hammer mounted on an excavator is going to make short work of this, which is
Well,
what
that's good to hear. I know some of it's shaly ledge. I did see a couple spots that test pits were pretty solid, but
yeah, well, yeah. But I think when you put a rock hammer on a decently sized excavator, you know, it's going to break up pretty quick.
perfect.
And
Those were my only concerns.
we're working with just so the commission knows, we have and Anthony can chime in here if he can hear. We have particularly PJ Keating is really stepping up to the plate. And so we have some pretty heavy hitters that are going to be helping us with site work, very experienced people that have very capable pieces of equipment for doing this kind of thing. So we anticipate getting some really good help from really competent people who are not only very competent in the construction industry, but are also local. So also have a local interest. We feel really privileged to have some team members like that on the team. So this isn't just going to be we don't anticipate this being sort of a Mickey Mouse operation. We expect to when we start breaking ground, we expect to get those type of steps done as fast as possible. And it's not a real huge area. So with a decently sized machine, we think we're going to be through that pretty quick.
Fantastic. I look forward to coordinating and getting the ground broken. So
Awesome.
So Greg, I have a few questions. How far is how close is your basin to the edge of the wetland?
30 feet.
30 feet. Okay.
We held
All right.
the 30.
You held
in
the
this
30.
case.
Okay.
Yeah.
So piggybacking on Chris's question about where the skaters will be getting on, will the skate park have sort of a perimeter outside the skate park that's concrete to allow for people to go in? How is that usually the design of these things? Because the skate parks that I know, they're usually in a concrete park, and we're talking about having grass all around.
Yep.
So, do
this-
we need concrete around so riders can get on and off?
So there's going to be, Anthony, if you want to pipe in on any of this stuff, please do. But this whole end of the park, this upper, let me see if I can highlight here. Hold on. This polygon right here
Mm-hmm.
is all flat.
Okay,
if you will. So that's sort of like the top of a ramp. So that's like a natural staging area there.
right.
Um,
How wide
then-
is that?
That's probably like in the 5, it varies a little bit, but it's probably like 4 to 5 feet.
Okay,
So yeah, then, you'd have a grass interface, up to that, but that's a spot where you'd be staging for using this whole area, and here's a ramp. This is a rail feature.
okay,
This is sort of a bowl feature, and then we have another ramp that kind of comes down in there. Another rail feature here, so that's sort of a staging area. The same thing exists on the other side, so we have another one of those areas right in there that's similar on the other side.
mhm,
So you have natural areas where there's going to be, so we're not anticipating putting any additional concrete on the outside of the limits of where the skate park is, because we feel like there's built-in spots for where that can, where those staging areas can occur.
So is that is there a staging area all on the perimeter of the park or just on those 2 areas?
It's more or less it's built into our polygon, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay, all around the
Yeah.
entire perimeter. Okay. And what is those little round things on like boulder type? Yeah,
Yeah, we're anticipating a little seating wall there, just.
Okay.
The grading was a little bit tight as we're looking to tie this in, particularly with the master plan grading. So
mhm,
I figured just a little 18-inch or 24-inch boulders there that we could just stick there would be a nice spot for a seating wall. So we're intending to do that as
Okay.
another nice place for, the kids or skaters that can, negotiate over there and have a seat similar to what we have on, kind of like the retaining wall that's adjacent to the, between the softball field and the Little League field. They built that seating wall there. If you
Oh,
can picture
okay.
that.
all
Kind
right.
of height, but it would be made out of stone, like natural, would be made out of stone. We anticipate having
Okay.
plenty of rock. So,
Okay.
that's our thought there.
Okay. So we don't really have to worry about about like what just Chris asked, is it going to be all grass and high traffic, or do we need to add any feature to any of those areas, an extra 5 feet of concrete on those entry areas?
I mean, I just, where do you stop with that, I mean,
No, I
think,
hear you.
I think if you wanted to add, like a spur, if you will, into the park from this walking path. So you
Mhm.
encourage people to use a path to get in there. I think
Okay.
that might not be a bad idea. You could do the same thing on the downhill side. You might be able to do it over here into this portion,
Okay.
or you.
Greg, what
or you
about
could-
up
you
by
could
the
do it over
restroom?
here. You could also do it over there. Yeah, but there's no walking path over there. That's kind of a grassed area.
Yeah, so then in
Um,
that case, now that wouldn't make any sense.
But I mean, you could really do that wherever you felt like you needed to.
Okay.
That won't affect us any.
Okay.
But,
All right.
it's just a matter of where do you, where do you.
No, I hear you.
It's almost like, it's hard to predict how people are going to access it. I would imagine that most of the parking is going to be done in the new parking lot that's going to be over here, so that if we had a lot of traffic coming from this side, I'm guessing.
Mhm.
So I would think that might be a logical place if you wanted to formalize an entrance and put some, I don't know what you'd want to use for a surface, the same surface that you use for the walking path. I'm not sure if that's pavement or
Okay.
if it's good, but that's just a
Okay.
suggestion. But I think that the park will accommodate that wherever you see fit, I think.
Okay. So on the other end, not at the entrance, but where you said there's the other flat part where it says 559 there, on
Up
the
here?
top. No, on the,
Oh, over
Up.
here.
yeah. So
Okay.
it looks to be a bigger drop there,
It will
after the
be-
bike path, after the bike path, after
Mm.
the skate park.
It-
Like a 5 feet drop.
It is
Or
until you
four.
build the other part of the park. That would tie into the grades that in the master plan.
But the
Um,
grading is still going to be graded 4 feet, no?
there was
Like-
I think they're raising this. I don't have a copy of the final plan, but
Oh, okay.
plans I saw, they're raising this area
Oh,
that-
okay.
so that they'd be tying those grades in more like down here. So there's a
Gotcha.
slope in this area, but they'd be modifying it with the, to accommodate the features in the overall master plan work.
Okay.
So
Okay,
we
gotcha.
worked early, that was one of our tasks, is to work early on with, this coordination effort was to make sure that we were working within the master grading plan that they had come up with.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay. So with that, based on what you just said, would that drop of 4 feet be not safe until the master plan kicks in? Or,
we have that graded on a 1-on-3 slope, and that's a fairly standard slope for that type of application. So it's a mowable slope, if you will. It's not a drivable slope, but it's a mowable slope. So it's a fairly, I mean, it's steep, but it's what you'd see on the side of a septic system, for example.
okay,
So it's a standard, a 3-to-1 slope is a pretty standard slope for that application.
okay, fair. And since this is our park is not gonna be there, is it your plan to have the, grass planted around this to kind of match with where the park is right now? Or
Yes.
gravel? Okay,
We'd loam and seed.
okay,
That's our intention.
okay. All right. I don't have any other questions or comments. Does anyone else have any other questions or comment?
Nope, I saw the presentation last week and I thought it was good, so.
Okay. All right.
Are there, the only question I guess, are there, as we go along and we get into the, the finer details of the landscaping of all of Marshall Park with trees and plantings and all that kind of, are there certain things that we should have in mind related to the skate park to avoid near the skate park kind of deal? Like on the plan, I see some, the master plan we have, there's some notations of trees and some different things that I want to be mindful of, making sure the skate park stays safe for kids, whether it's gardens around it or trees and things like that would interfere and make it less safe, or
Yeah, no, good question.
difficulty with maintenance and things like that. Like I want to, obviously from a maintenance standpoint, we want to keep it simple as well.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, the more you can minimize the amount of trees that you have directly adjacent to it, the better the better it'll be. If particularly in the fall, if you get, you get a lot of leaves in there, it's just something you have to, that have to be removed, they'd have to be blown out.
Okay.
So not the end of the world, but if you have the opportunity to, I wouldn't go out of your way to plant trees directly adjacent to it, I guess. If the master plan calls for some shade trees in the area, I mean, that's fine, but I would probably look to minimize the number of trees that you put immediately surrounding it.
Okay. All right. I think, Karen, should we do a vote to accept the design as presented?
Yep.
Okay.
And I will make a motion to present the skate park design as presented this evening.
Can we get a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call. Karen?
Aye.
Chris Sullivan?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
And I for myself. So thank you. All right. Well,
Awesome.
Greg, what's the date that it's going back to Concom?
Next Wednesday,
Sounds-
the
19th?
19th, yeah.
Great, thank you.
So, and I think it'll be, I think we'll
Yeah.
close it. Yeah.
They didn't have any questions, so.
Yeah. I think
I-
we're good.
Yeah, and I actually texted on, I'm like, I wish he had just pushed through. I mean, they just stayed.
Right. I thought about it, but then if I had done that, then I didn't feel right about it. I just want to make sure that,
Understood.
and so I appreciate the opportunity tonight. And, thank you again for your efforts. I know that the ROE, the right of entry document is in motion. The town manager and the legal counsel team is working on that, and I really appreciate the commission. We appreciate the commission's efforts on that. So, we're excited.
Yeah,
Want to get it done. So we'll keep you posted as things roll, but we appreciate the collaborative effort so far. So thank you very much.
that's awesome. Same here, Greg. Thank you.
All right.
And I know I've been super quiet. I just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you to Greg. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the support and the endorsement. This has been this is monumental.
That's awesome.
That
Thank you,
that were
Anthony.
quiet or the project?
What was that?
That you were quiet or the project?
Monumental. Am I laughing out loud?
Thanks, Chris. You're the best.
See you
say it
later,
in love.
everybody.
I say it
Thank
in
you for
love.
taking us early as well. We appreciate it.
Definitely. Go have fun
Okay.
with your family. All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, guys, nice
Bye.
job.
All right. We're our end. So next is feedback on schematic design presentation. Our awesome facilities director had a 40-point feedback that I was hoping everyone had the opportunity to read ahead of time. And that maybe we could just discuss if anybody has any questions about it. We can just discuss the ones that you have questions. Karen, do you have any?
I have
Any-
nothing. I was happy with the way it looked, and I know that Chris was gonna he would fine tune out his questions and probably hit anything that would eventually pop up in my mind. So I have nothing.
Oh, good. That means Chris did a thorough job, which is
Good.
very good. Very. How about you, Chris Sullivan? Do you have any of these points? Do you have any questions or comments?
I wasn't sure on the, I would say yes to the fence all the way around the basketball court. I think with its proximity to the skate, I think that's an important piece to keep that closed off entirely and keep everything
Mhm.
contained within the court area, given the conservation land that's nearby. So that's a good thought there. On the gate, I didn't know if we needed I could go either way, I guess, on the gate towards the paved end of the gravel lot. I don't know if we, not sure if it's necessary or not. Again, it's not, for going through that. On the flag poles, I don't know that I went back and looked at it. I don't know that they were noted in there. But I was thinking somewhere out, looking at the design, somewhere out between the kind of the outside of right field and the 90-foot diamond and left field of the softball field towards that far end, because then I think the Little League field could also see that flagpole from that spot if we wanted to have a central spot. I think that might be a good spot there. The questions I had mainly are the shaded tarps and so forth, where there is some space between the softball and the baseball field there, just in terms of durability and making sure those are taken down in the wintertime and so forth. But then we also posed the question about netting running between the two fields, and if that interferes with those spots where you might be thinking those shaded points would go, or any obstructed view situations there surrounding that. But I think other than that, that's kind of what I saw. But it was a lot of good information in here for us to keep track of and get squared away with.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like adding these feedbacks to. So I don't see you disagreeing with anything, Chris Sullivan. Is that right? Per se.
No, there's a lot of questions here, more than he's posing some questions for thought, I guess.
Right.
As I read this, it's not like these aren't bullet points of things to check off. I'm reading it more as these are questions for us to consider and kind of keep track of.
Right.
So all things I think as we get into the further engineering phase of this and construction phase of this, that we should be mindful of.
Okay. Well, so Chris presented these as questions because, he's presenting to us. We can send these to WOLA as, hey, please address these things. So if there's something of these items that you say, we don't want this to be part of the design, we would strike that question. Because we got to think it's coming from Chris. He's presenting to us as a question. I thought all of these were good ideas. I don't have any. The parking spaces, I think that one is, we gotta leave it. That's the one that is like, we gotta leave it the way it is because we need those parking spaces to count towards our, to qualify for the 100 parking spaces that we need. So I that one would be one that I would strike it. It's possibly two, because we're gonna have the gravel parking lot, which likely won't be as marked. So anyone with a larger truck will probably be able to park there. And I think if a truck is big enough, they probably will take most of the space. And if you have another big truck, you'll probably skip another spot. That's the one that I'm like, I don't think we should mess with that right now. The cave is one that I was gonna talk with the group. I had asked Catherine about it, and she said that the cave they cannot conceive anything that would be safe for the cave to exist as it is. Maybe and Chris Ruth then talked with me, maybe if we can secure it, we can maybe put a gate on it, like with a really heavy padlock that really people cannot break into it. And that can be open for tours, if we can consider that to be safe. So I like that idea. And what I thought about it as regarding the cave was, maybe while we have this time between now and the construction, we can try to do if there are people interested in keeping the cave, for that to be a separate project to happen before the construction.
Don't we have isn't the walking path going right over the cave? I thought in the designs.
So it is going above. The entrance, Chris hasn't been able to overlay yet. He doesn't have the software yet, but that is a chance that the entrance to the cave will be off the path. So the path is going above the cave.
Comment. Just the.
Okay, go ahead, Chris. We couldn't hear you, what you just said.
Oh, sorry. I was just asking if I could make a comment.
Yes.
The original entrance to the cave was actually on the closer to Powell Field, where that small announcer shed they had was. And if it were, if the stars were aligned, it would all work. The entrance would almost be past the walking path, and you would walk under it to get into the room, if we were to leave it as it's currently constructed. That being said, I think we have some work to do to figure all of it out.
Yeah, the integrity of it, I guess, if the intent was to keep it, I guess the integrity of putting a path over it, is it, sound we're not going to collapse it at some point, or.
But we ran several trucks over it this year. I already know that for sure. The DPW actually had their dump truck parked on top of it while they were cleaning up tree branches, and I just had them, move forward a little bit just in case.
So that's my thought for the cave, is to, if there is an appetite from people in town to take this as a project, to happen before the construction. Otherwise, we should make plans to maybe try to recover some of the stones that are there. I mean, the stonework that's there is beautiful, and just crush it after that. Probably crush it and remove the stones to save it. They're beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful inside. I love stonework. It takes real talent, which I don't have for that. So any discussion or thoughts or comments on that? No. Okay. So, all right. So what I'm going to do with Chris's comments is I'm going to make them into more of a commentary, and I'm going to send them to Walla, because it doesn't sound like we disagree with any of them. So, and then I'm going to ask, does anybody else have any comments about the schematic design, or requests for them outside Chris's comments? No? Chris Sullivan?
At this point, I don't think I do. I still, I'm still curious about turf and so forth. So I just kind of want to keep that in mind. I was actually talking to the athletic director this morning at the school. And he kind of perked up a little bit when talked about it. There's not that the intent here would be to generate income, but his take too would be there's definitely some income that could be generated if we had some turf up there. There's a lot of towns, colleges, universities, and so forth that seek out those to get spring sports underway earlier than they do otherwise, and so forth. And I don't know. I just in the back. It's still in the back of my mind.
Okay.
Something I'd
No,
like
that's
to
fair.
continue to look at. And he if we're ever interested in hearing his perspective, he said he'd be willing to come and talk about it a little bit as well. He came from a college setting, from athletics as well. So
Cool. Yeah, I think when we get to that point, it'll probably definitely be worth it. Okay. Pat, do you have any comments about the schematic design? Anything you want to add that you notice?
No, not at this time.
Okay. All right. My only comments were regarding I just want to the couple mentions that Michael Toolhill had made, which was some kind of stormwater management or drainage for the dog park. And he also said that 3 Basin, which is going to be adjacent to the skate park, that could work. But what I want to explore, I want Nick to tell us is there a plan B if that doesn't work? Because it will be that stormwater is the stormwater that's going to be coming from the pavilion area, from the multi-sport courts, the pickleball courts. So if that plan doesn't work, what other plan do we have for us? So those are the only feedbacks I would have. We're all good with that?
yeah, one other thing, just based on what we just talked about with Greg and Anthony, they do have a few trees designated to be planted around the skate park. And so just to be mindful of whatever if those are still, and obviously we're early and we're not in the construction phase or whatever, but hearing their thoughts on, seeking out trees to be planted there in those areas might not be the.
So the skate park has trees in their plan as well. And part of that is because of a Conservation Commission requirement that if you're taking down trees, that some of them get replaced. So,
Okay, so if they're required, that's fine, just a
yeah,
matter of if we're,
I have to go back. Anna and I were actually both in the Conservation Commission meeting last week, and Pat was too.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what exactly was said, or like the exact location of the trees. I just know that they had some on their
Okay.
plan as well as being replaced, so.
Okay.
But we can look, yeah, I wouldn't want to put a tree where it's gonna
we're not
just,
overplant, yeah, as long as we're not over, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever's required is required, just be mindful that we're not overplanting that area.
Yeah.
That's all.
for sure.
Anna, if I could too, I have one last comment.
Go
the
for it.
commission. It was brought to my attention that there's a similar park that's already built and up and running that's not that far away. It's in Walpole, New Hampshire, which is just north of Keene. And they have a similar layout of a 90-foot diamond, a softball field, and the equivalent of Powell Field. So just a thought that it may be worthwhile reaching out to someone out there just to see what works, what doesn't work, if they had any ideas that help. It just happens to be a similar type setup.
Is that a turf or grass? Do you know?
I think that one is grass on all of them.
Okay. All right. That's good. All right. Okay. Well, Chris, thank you for your feedback. Does anybody have any other comments, questions for Chris Ruth before maybe he goes put his baby to bed? No.
Nope.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Have a good day. Have a good evening, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Night, everybody.
Night.
Right, Chris, thanks.
All right, on to our next item, review grant application. So before we start talking about this, I just want to say thank you so much, Karen. Karen has done huge amount of work with this grant, like huge. I mean, if the word huge should be used, it's right now. And I really, really appreciate, I've been really busy at work. I did one piece. And but I've known that Karen's on it and she does always everything excellent. So I just want to thank her. And I think we should consider having a bronze statue of Karen at the, right next to the flags. Whatever we put the flags, we should have a.
She had said this multiple times.
Yeah.
So Anna, why don't we do this? I know that you had asked me earlier what I was going to present tonight. Why don't you let me start it off, and I'll actually pull up the fillable
Go
form, one that
for
I
it.
put. Okay, so everybody just give me a second because I have to figure out where I put it. I have so many things opened on my thing. It's insanity. Yeah, that's not that one. All right, we're gonna close that. Hold on. Oh, goodness. Bear with me one sec. Nope, I don't want that. I had it open, and then it shouldn't surprise you that as I had it open, I was reading something else. I'm like, oh, I don't have that form. So I was quickly putting another PDF together as I was listening to everybody because needed to get done. So bear with me. Fillable. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, and this should also not surprise anybody. The way that this application has to be submitted is online, and there's a whole page for me to fill out, but you can't print that whole page. So in order to do the steps, I had to fill out another form first, then basically sort of cut and paste between it. So I'm sort of going to run everybody through what I've had so far. And I know Anna and I had both sent stuff out looking for feedback on some of the sections. So I'll let Anna run with her section when we get to it, and then I'll cover WOLA's. So, and I think we've taken into consideration everybody's feedback. So, all right, this is the lovely fillable application. So the beginning part is just the very basic of, the town, the contact information, We had to provide all the information for the registry of deeds because we actually needed to provide them a copy of the deed. So that's what's in this section here. Anna's going to be the contact for this grant. So if there's any questions, it'll go back to her, and then I'm sure she'll siphon it through whoever else needs to be involved to get those answers. Number 5 is where WOLA comes into the picture. Do you want me to pull up WOLA's? Do you want me
It's all up to you, Karen.
It would-
Whatever.
Has everybody read WOLA's response number 5? I know, Chris, you did because you had provided feedback, but Pat, were you able to look at it before I pull it up? Because it's long. I'd rather not have to read through the whole thing.
Yeah, I had read through it.
Okay, Chris, they did make your recommended changes regarding community involvement, and they strengthened that section. Do you want to see it, or are you good?
No, it's just, just again, asking the questions if that's important
Yep.
to,
Yeah.
to add in the overall sort of inclusive nature of our endeavors
Yep,
here.
and they did. And there's another section that that was actually my section that touches on the same sort of the same topic, so we can cover it there. And Anna also included it in her budget narrative. So I think we're good on that side. So this part was just saying the stuff that WOLA needed to include. So then this was the fun part. And this is Anna's part. I'm actually gonna skip it so she can do it at the end, so we're not going back and forth. So this is the part that Anna had done that's in the red box. And she completed that, so that needs to be inputted still.
Mostly completed.
Mostly completed. She was on the phone with my husband earlier about wording, something about English not being her first language. I don't know, but
I
whatever.
use that on everything.
Good. It's all good. So the reason that we're qualifying for the larger grants is because we have over 100 parking spots, which is why we're qualifying as a regional or statewide project, even though we have less than 35,000 residents. Some of the stuff looked like it unclicked. It printed fine. So we do not have the Community Preservation Act. We do not have any outstanding leases, restrictions, or other interest in that property. It has been permanently dedicated for a park, playground, or recreational, and it is listed as such on our deed. We currently do charge fees for use of this facility, and I did include those as an attachment. And I included exactly what we had approved a few years ago. We haven't changed anything, and explained that it was for usage for our user groups of dedicated time and space for their programs. We do have a municipal open space and recreation plan. This section is sort of quirky to me on this because what WOLA provided for information is not a single line, they're paragraphs. And it did allow me to cut and paste it in there. I'm just hoping the whole thing displays when they pull it up on their end at the state side. So that section's completed. WOLA again did section 13, which was describing the outdoor recreation plan. Now this was my part here. And I don't know why some of this didn't copy and paste over. So let me get to the page in my thing so I can give you a good read of what I put in there. So the environmental justice population or communities, it's a very interesting thing. It is something through the state that takes communities. I think I don't know if they have to apply for it, but they definitely have to prove what their status is. And you can meet this and become an environmental justice community by income and having minority status. And it's a certain percentage. Lunenburg doesn't meet any of those. So this section here wanted us to describe how we involved our environmental justice populations with it in our community or neighboring communities. We have 5 environmental justice populations that surround Lunenburg. It's everybody but Groton. So
Everybody but Groton and Lunenburg.
everybody, right? So Groton and Lunenburg are not. So
Everybody else is.
yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
that's okay. In this section here, I just put that the town of Lunenburg is a direct neighbor to 5 environmental justice communities, and their involvement was both welcome and beneficial. The success in our community outreach to Lunenburg residents as well as surrounding communities was evident by the attendance at our community meetings. We had members of, we had residents from Townsend and Leominster participate in our meetings. So that's, and I do have that documented in our meetings because they were televised. Community meeting notice flyers were and will continue to be posted at the library, the senior center, distributed by Lunenburg Public Schools and published in the local newspaper. Current user groups were notified and information about community meetings were dispersed to their members who are both residents and non-residents. Facebook posts were utilized for a broader reach, and community surveys for additional feedback were open to all regardless of community of residents as part of the Park Commission approach. The local newspaper also published articles on the planning process and the proposed renovations. Along with this, I might be able to share this. Let me see if I can find it. Does this, when I click off of this, is it going to show my whole?
No,
Okay.
if you
Let
share
me-
the window,
No, I don't want to share a window. I get myself in
If you
trouble
sh-
share.
I know, so if you didn't share the window, it won't show.
Okay, give me 1 second because I would like to share some of the things that I had worked on. Environmental justice. Okay, so let's see. So how do I go back? How do I share another page? Do I just go back to where I came from? And the share button?
I don't know. Just stop sharing and share a
Just-
new one.
Okay, so the number of attachments on this grant is what has actually been a killer here. This is one of the ones that I had put together. It's a 2-page PDF that shows all the flyers that we had distributed to the community, as well as our survey link that we had posted on social media, and the flyer that Anna and I had walked door to door and delivered to residents over on the Chestnut Street area. I included Anna and Chris's direct Facebook posts, as well as some of the screen shares that were done via our Lunenburg recreation site. So all of this is going on to as an attachment. And the interesting thing on this, which is why I'm hoping, and I included everything, was that you're supposed to upload a flyer. It technically, if I hadn't created a PDF, which I don't think a lot of people do when they upload it, they'd only be uploading 2 advertisements, which seems to me that that's the typically average number of advertisements, you know, groups would do to promote their project. So I'm hoping when they open this and they're like, wow, that's a lot. So I'm hopeful on that piece of it. So that's what that piece is. We do have a community compact. Don't really ask me what it's all about. I do have the yes portion filled out. And it's just it's a compact that the town has with the state with listing a couple of best practices. In this case, it's stormwater. We are also a municipal vulnerability program community member, but nothing in our MVP plan has anything to do with this project. So WOLA did spend some time trying to tie it all back together, and sort of saying, yes, we're an MVP community. We don't have anything directly that ties to Marshall Park, but here's how some of these pieces do tie into it. We're not a Housing Choice Initiative program member, so that was out. We're no on everything here with the exception of this environmental intrusion. Emily and I went back and forth on this and whether it should be a yes or a no. And I finally said to her, I think we should go with yes, because I would rather them come back to us and say, no, there is no environmental intrusion, and have us be wrong that way, than be wrong by saying no and have it look like we're trying to get out of something that we shouldn't be. She wasn't 100% sure because our power lines there are already buried. So again, it was just something we went back and forth on, and this is where we landed. This stuff here, we're not buying land, so we're good. We do need to get permits at some point, start that process only through two organizations, and that's the Mass Department of Environmental Protection, as well as our local Conservation Commission. So they really want us to have that process started and going. We're not quite there yet, so we're going forward with this. If they come asking, we will have to prove to them at some point, but it's not going to be tomorrow. It would be later in the year. So we have time for that. Anna and I spent some time today with town manager and had this section filled out, which is her signatures approving everything. Now, this was the fun list of attachments. Please note where it says recommended attachments, which are not required, they are recommended. There are some attachments in here that are not a recommendation, they are a requirement. So when you're Karen and it's Monday night and you start reading through this and you completely start panicking and calling Anna going, oh my God, we need X, Y, and Z. She really had to talk me off of the ledge on this one. A lot of these attachments, the first one is already on file with the state. That's something that I was involved with on open space. So I know that it's there and I was able to point them to that. Just a quick rundown. This is partly for my sanity as I'm going over this to make sure we have everything. We do have the project description and the budget details that Anna will do in a minute. I do have the site development and cost estimate PDFs. The site development is tied into the boundary plan. It's a 42-page document that was overnight mailed to us as a like the gigantic architectural design forms, which was great. We did make another copy today to bring it down to legal size paper to mail that way. And then if the state decides they need something bigger, we can send the bigger ones. But the state doesn't even want us to send this in a binder. So I was having a really hard time swallowing the idea of sending them this gigantic box that had, 42 pages of, again, those gigantic pieces of paper. So that's done. WOLA provided us with the locust map, which is just a colored map. I showed you guys the evidence of the public meeting to our environmental justice neighbors. The usage report, this is how we're qualifying for this grant, and it basically shows, let me see if I can actually share that. Hold on 1 second. It was a fun little report. It might be neat for you guys to see how that got filled out. There's so many things bogging down my computer right now. It's absolutely insane. And we're blaming it all on Anna.
Why are they?
Somebody's got to take the blame.
Sure.
All right, hold on a second here. What I should have done is just log into the, I should have logged into the folder where I was uploading everything, and then I wouldn't have to search for anything, but it's so hard to, it's hard to find anything on that. Usage. No, this must be it. What the heck? Maybe I'm not sharing it with you because I have no idea where I put it. Oh, there it is.
The next one?
Yep, I got it.
Oh, wow.
Did it come up?
It did. But you got to share the pictures the next page too.
The pictures?
It looks like you have some pictures as an attachment.
Oh, I do have pictures of the field from WOLA that I can share. Okay, but anyway, this is the usage form that we were required to fill out. A couple of things to note here is that the 121 parking spaces, I don't know if anybody's going to remember this, but we were actually 122 parking spaces until a couple of days ago when WOLA went over the plans again and realized that they somehow shorted themselves the handicap parking spot, or didn't include like something next to the handicap parking spot. So we went from 122 to 121 spots. The proposal for bathroom facilities is currently 6 men's room and 6 women, or 6 men's toilets and 6 women's toilets. And that would be if the location over by the 90-foot diamond where the old bathroom facility, if that goes in, that's where those numbers come from. Otherwise, I think it's 5 of each down at the main concession stand. There'd be a total of 11 sinks. Potable water outlets would be like bubblers. There's currently one, she's thinking, down by the concession stands. 27.8 acres. I don't know what this random text mark is. We'll delete that. And then these are what we have down at the fields. And they asked for age groups, and I just sort of went with everything because it made more sense. So playground, multi-sport court, main pavilion, walking paths and nature trails, fields, Marshall Pond Pavilion, and the pond overlook. We did as all ages because if you're 99 and you want to go use the playgrounds, go for it. And then we did dog park and skate park. We did 6 to 99 and 4 to 99 because those numbers just sort of made sense. We won't have any policies on them per se, but that's just sort of what we were thinking. The outstanding or unusual scenic, natural or historic resources, of course, in Marshall Pond, the Lunenburg Town Pond, which is a historic structure. We have stone fences, and this one is on as 100-plus-year-old forest. So that wooded area.
Yeah, it is.
It is. So that's what's there. So that was another one of the attachments that we had to send. Let me see if the pictures on
I saw the pictures as next page to this. No?
No, there's nothing else on there. I'm wondering if I had,
Okay.
I don't see anything else on there.
Okay.
So yeah, that's, how do I open this back up? Let's see. So that's really it for my side of things. It's just been a lot of, going back and forth and making sure that I had everything. And unfortunately, this is one of those things, where, the state has, come back and not made things easy. So even though there's a form that I've started to fill out online that I can save, it doesn't save the attachments. And my brain's very systematic. So as I'm going through this, I'm like, okay, this is this section and this is the attachment. This is this section and this is the attachment. And I can't upload any attachments yet. So I can't do that until you guys all give the yay that this looks good to submit. So
It looks good to me.
that's where we are on my side of things. And if we give the
We
go ahead, I'm gonna
separate-
submit.
Do we need to vote and we separate UN on a sections, or is it, we're just gonna vote?
No,
on
You
one?
you can do it as one whole.
I don't think we need a vote on this, do we?
It doesn't, it's
don't
not gonna hurt to vote it, but it doesn't matter.
Technically, is Heather is the one submitting this because she's the officer.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Vote
can
to approve, just to vote to approve it or whatever. And
vote to support, I think is
vote
more,
to
more.
support. Sure.
Yeah, Anna,
Yeah.
FYI, good catch on that, the park grant application from Brandon Kibbe on what he had done for, so 2 of the questions that they asked us, one of them was the vote of when the Parks Commission was established. I don't have time to go back and try to search that out. And the other one was a certified documentation of our Park Commission members. We looked at Brandon's submission for the park grant that he got successfully back in, I think, 2019. And he used a screenshot from the town website for the commissioners. So I did the exact same thing just a little while ago. And I was also able to go on to our charter, and I made 2 different PDFs of the town charter. One that was that showed that town manager has power to execute this. And the other one was showing the makeup of the Parks Commission. And the only way that could get in that charter is if the town approved it, and then the legislature approves our charter. So I think that's good enough. So I actually think as of a half an hour ago, we have every single attachment that is needed and required we have, because we got that letter. I think I told you, Anna, we got that letter from the
fishery people.
the Massachusetts, like, endangered animal people. They wanted this is where the recommended and required issue came up, because it said it was on the recommended list, but then when you read that, the attachment list, it said all applicants are required to submit for this. That was my Monday panic, and I'm like, oh, how long is this gonna take? So they actually got it to me today. I submitted it on Monday and it came in today, so.
That was pretty good.
So once we give the yay and I get this submitted, I will make sure that everything is in the folder that I've been adding everything to, and then I will make sure it gets shared with the commission if anybody wants to read it again after it's been submitted. That will be available. So-
I'm good with that. My part is you guys received the budget and the letter. I did get some feedback on the letter. The budget, there wasn't any changes. I'm still tweaking with the language. There has been some back and forth, but if you guys have read it, do you guys have any questions about it? The one thing I'll mention is that the town manager did see that budget and narrative that I created because I mentioned her on it. And she seems very comfortable with it, with what it was written. So unless you guys have any questions, the language a little bit, it's just, I made the edits that Chris Sullivan suggested, that Chris Menard suggested, that Karen Menard suggested. So do you guys have any questions, comments?
I did
Chris?
pose a couple questions related to the budget list.
Sure.
Just the percentages that, I was trying to figure out what the percent, like I saw
Sure.
like the general conditions, the 2.8% of something, and
Yeah.
you said check your math, and when I did the 2.8% of a couple different numbers that were on there, neither one gave me the number that was listed.
Right.
So I wasn't
So I
sure what
did.
that was.
I did go back, so I can reply to that. And he remember when we did the conceptual design, there was a cost breakdown that Willa created for us about 1.5 years ago.
Yep.
So those numbers are pulled from that. The 2% is from the total, 2.8% is from the total of the line item. So like if utilities were 5% of the overall cost, I did utilities is 2% of this overall cost. There were some rounding errors because I was doing everything as percentage, and there was several percentages, and my final formula. So anyway, so I did adjust it so it's just the exact number.
The percentages aren't off of so I was doing it off the budget numbers that were on the
It was off by
budget
$15.
sheet that was on the same
Yeah,
same
I can-
sheet, because I was
I
getting
can share that.
different. Just double checking the math. Like if they're gonna go through
I
and check the
did.
math or whatever, I just want to make sure that
No, I love that.
whatever
Do you want me
numbers they
to?
have, they're getting the same numbers kind of deal. If
you want
you
me-
went over it again, I don't need to
Yeah.
see. I was just asking the question just to,
No, I
'cause I
appreciate
didn't
that.
see, I couldn't, it wasn't making.
I appreciate
sense.
that. Let me, Karen, can I share the?
Yeah, you have screen share permissions. I think that's one of the things, Chris, that my Chris was confused with. So I know that they spent some time on the phone talking too. So
Yeah, I was only basing it off of the park grant budget attachment. So I was taking those numbers and saying like 2.8% of 855, 826, and I didn't get
Okay.
24,149.
Yeah.
And I didn't
So-
get it when I did the total deal, the same kind of deal. I just wasn't getting those figures. But
Yeah, so this is the total for the project, 144. And when we divide 144,800, when we divide 144,800 by 5,131,584, we get this number here. And when we run this number with 855, 826, we get this number. So I think it adds to like rounding.
so
But
when you're multiplying, which number are you multiplying by 2.8?
I am to get 24, I am multiplying 855, 826. And the same thing here, I multiply 3.10% by 85526. So if I go here on the sheet 2, instead of rounding, what I did, this is going to be the page that I present. I did the calculation here. Now I just put on numbers, but so here is correct. So, or is not. So you end up with number errors, rounding errors. And what Chris Menard told me to do is you use a tilt in front of the percentage to indicate approximate.
Okay.
And these, so anyway, so that breakdown estimated cost is going to be submitted as part of the overall submission. And this budget is a draft, is a piece of that overall submission.
Okay.
So,
And that was the want boxes at the end of the report. That was the other questions I had.
yeah, they asked for that on their simple budget.
And you have the update. Can you scroll back down on your list there again?
Sure.
So they're, yeah, those are correct. Okay, so the old one had different numbers on it. So those
Yeah.
are updated now.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
It was the same thing. Yeah. So on their sample budget, they have that 2 boxes, which is, it's just what they have. So.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. But thank you for checking all of that, because if you and Chris Menard had not checked, I am just assuming Excel is doing it right, and I didn't think about rounding errors. So
You get the spelling mistake on the subtotal.
I saw that too. I
Okay.
fixed that one. Thank you.
Good.
I'm dreaming of sun.
I know. I didn't blame you. I was coming off the beach, so.
Yeah.
So Anna, are you going to fill in these spots for me? Do you?
Yeah, I'll fill in the spots and I'll send it to you
And what are you thinking timeline on your?
before I go to bed tonight.
Okay. Because two things are gonna happen. Either I'm gonna submit it and I'm gonna get a good night's sleep, or I'm gonna submit it and panic all night that I missed something. But
Why don't
although-
you submit tomorrow when you're gonna be rested? You know you have a lot. If you do
Yeah.
anything tonight, you're gonna be doing in a rush. You're gonna be already doing tired because you already been on a 2-hour
And I
meeting.
won't sleep tonight because I'm gonna worry about it. But I did feel better seeing Brandon's submission, because they had written back and requested additional information. Like, I don't know
Yep.
if you had seen it on,
I
like,
saw that.
one of them was basically, it was signed by the Board of Selectmen, but it actually needed to be signed by town manager. So they had asked for like that. They asked for a few other things. So it does make me feel better that if there's something missing, that they could potentially come back to us and ask, and not just kick it to the side.
I've been telling you that.
I know, but yeah, but I'm not the only one who thinks this way, because earlier, so Anna, originally, we thought everything had to be in tomorrow by 3 p.m., everything, including the hard copies. So Miss Lovely Chair over there was like, we're going to go on a field trip into Boston on Thursday.
I love field trip.
I don't mind going with Anna someplace, but I'd rather not have to go into Boston. So anyway, I had emailed the woman from the state and said, hey, is somebody going to be there? And I get this response back, which was, yes, but you may want to check the question and answer section, because it'll give you more about when the hard copy needs to be in. And I can't answer any more questions because the question and answer session was over. Well, I read those questions and answers tens, maybe 100 times, and there's nothing there. And I read them again, there's nothing there. And then something dawned on me to just do a Google search. And I did a Google search and came up with their 2024 FY24, which would have been, is this year, their workshop presentation. And that's where the answer was, but it wasn't easy. Like I didn't know where to find that document. And it said clearly in there that you, as long as you submitted by the deadline, which is July 13th at 3 p.m., then you put the hard copy in the mail. I was like, okay. So I told Emily from Willow that we're mailing it on Thursday, and she called in an absolute panic today going, no, that's not going to work. You have to have the hard copies in by Thursday at 3. And then I had to, I went back to reassure her and sent her all the links. I'm like, nope, read this, see here. And she was like, oh, yep, you're right. Thank you for that information. So I'm not the only one who has a crazy brain that thinks that everything should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's not well explained, but you know.
Mhm.
So Karen, again, thank you so much for all the work that you have been doing. And
Those are the
unfortunately, it's not done yet. And this is one of several. But I appreciate, and I'm sure everyone does. Next on the agenda, it was.
Do you want that motion of support?
Want a motion to?
Oh,
support?
yeah. Why don't we do a
I'll-
motion
I'll
of
make a
support?
motion to support the park grant application as discussed this evening.
Can I have a second? Oh, I love that, Pat. All right. Karen,
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
And an aye for myself. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Next on the agenda is updates from meeting with Green Community Committee. Pat, did you reach out to Dave Blatt?
I did. I haven't heard back from him.
Okay, I will.
I
That's
reached
good.
out last week and I haven't heard anything from him.
Okay, that's good. I just wanted to put on the agenda in case you had heard from him. Sounds good. Awesome. Karen, I cannot do the naming policy. This is a 2-hour meeting and I was up at 4:30 in the morning. Okay. We did do the skate park chair updates. Actually, I skipped number 8, which is select board and community update meeting on Marshall Park renovation. So after we submit this grant, I wanted to go to the Board of Health, and anyone is welcome to join me to request a letter from them of their committing their funds that they promised for the repair of the septic. And you know, we do have the bathrooms to use the septic, and if we don't have that money to repair the septic, I'm not sure those bathrooms there will make sense. I like at some point in this project, we're going to get the final cost, and we might need to start cutting things. We're not there yet, but that is something that's going to be ahead of us. So I wanted a lot of commitment for the septic repair so that we can definitely commit to do this, the bathrooms, to use that. And after that, I'm going to ask Mr. Michael Ray Jeffries if I can go to their meeting under communications from other boards and give the select board and the community a quick presentation update about where we are with this project. And again, I don't want to necessarily make a burden of another meeting, but everyone is invited. I might do it as soon as next week. But I wanted to check with you. It would have to be next week or it will be the following month. And I was hoping to do it still in the month of July because we have had some big wins. You are mute, Karen.
I am. Are you going to ask to be put on their agenda?
I don't need to be asked to be on their agenda because I can just speak on their communications from other boards.
I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure you all are okay with that. And if you have any comments, if you guys would like to join me, I know Karen would love to join me. But if anyone is in town, I'll confirm when I'll be able to go there. And if you guys can join me, I think it's great. Is that good? Does anyone have anything against doing that? I just really, really value, like, you know, the community gave us $184,000 to do the engineering, and we're moving forward with that, you know. And I want to show that we've done that. I might even bring the blueprints that we received. I want to talk about $1 million ARPA. I want to thank them, and I want to tell them how we use that as to show that we had funding for that, for the for for this part of the project. So, okay, that is all that I have. Upcoming on the agenda is other business matter that may legally come before the board, not known at the time of the posting. I don't have anything. Does anybody have anything? No? Okay. Any public comment from the board?
Thank you both again for work on that park grant. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. After this is going to be calling Margaret Scarsdale and asking her to start calling her people.
Yeah, no, I'm glad this is done. It was, the timing of it just wasn't great because my son got married 2 weeks ago. So we've just been, the last 3 months have been that. So then to put this on top of it, I was crazy. So I was thankful for Anna's help in all of my crazy calls and texts and everything else. And yeah, it was nice to sit down with town manager today and get that signature. It was like, okay, this is real now. So fingers crossed that we get it, that's the next thing. So.
All right.
Yeah, nice job. Thanks.
Thank you, Pat. And Pat, thank you so much for coming to the Conservation Commission meeting. I know having us there, it was differentiator, and I appreciate, Karen was there too, but I really, really appreciate you too. I already thanked Karen enough today, so Pat, this is all you.
No problem.
All right, really, really appreciate it. And so you all know, Liz, our town beach director, is very thankful that we did that, and Chris as well. As a commission, I think it's important for us to work with a team that helps the magic happen for us. And I think as a commission, we're doing a great job. So I think it's great. So thank you so much. All right. I would say any public comments from the public, but there's no public here right now, just for the record. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn at 8:57.
Next meeting.
Oh, yeah, next meeting.
Yeah.
I take that back.
Yeah.
I'll second that in a moment, Karen. We'll just change the time.
Okay, next meeting technically would be the 16th of August. Is that good for everyone?
Let me look, hold on.
Works for me.
That's for me.
All right, Pat.
Yeah, right now it works.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right, great. I will request a Zoom link, and I'll do it now so I don't forget.
Awesome.
Great. I will now make a motion to adjourn at 8:58.
Second.
Roll call. Pat?
Yep.
Chris?
Aye.
Karen?
Yes.
All right, and I for myself, and good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you all.